Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be focusing on exercise number 1 from lesson 1. What I will be doing is I'll be going through the whole alphabet, the 29 letters, and then I will go into detail about where the letters originate from in the mouth and how they should be pronounced correctly. So let's go over the alphabets. Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Zal, Ra, Za, Sin, Shin, Sad, ضاد طاء ظاء عين غين فاء قاف كاف لام ميم نون واو ها همزة يا. Right, one misconception I want to address here, right at the beginning of the qaida, is that when you are pronouncing these letters, some people tend to pronounce them as alif, be, te, the. That is incorrect. That is from the Urdu alphabet, not the Arabic. The Urdu alphabet looks very similar to the Arabic alphabet. There are some additional letters in the Urdu alphabet, and the letters are pronounced differently. They are pronounced alif, be, te, te. The Arabic alphabet doesn't work like that. It's alif, ba, ta, tha. It's very different from how the Urdu alphabets are pronounced. The other thing I want to point out is in lesson 1, I talked about the names of these letters and the fact that some of these letters are stretched and some of them are read quickly without stretching. So I want to refer to this book, this qaida, which is known as Nurani qaida. Some people study the Nurani qaida, and that's absolutely fine. I want to refer to this qaida here. You can see that these are what the letters look like. So you've got alif, ba, ta, tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, and on this side, names of letters. This is how they look when you write the name of the letter Ba. That's why we stretch it a little bit. Ba, Ta, Tha. Whereas Alif, yesterday, in part 1, I spoke about not stretching the letter Alif. So not reading Alif because there is no Ya there in between the Lam and the Fa. So this is just for reference. You can refer to this qaida. It's quite a good qaida to study as well. On what the names of the letters look like and whether they should be stretched or not. It's all here. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about where the letters originate from. Now, in the Arabic language, Makharij is the name of where the letters originate from in your mouth. Makharij is singular, Makharij is plural. And this is referring to where in the mouth the letters originate from. So let's talk about this letter here, Alif. Actually, there are 3 letters. Alif, Waw, and Ya. These letters are pronounced from the emptiness of the mouth. In Arabic, it's called Jawf Fam. So they are pronounced from the emptiness of the mouth. Alif, Waw, and Ya. They do not originate from your throat or your lips or various other places of the mouth. They originate from the emptiness of the mouth. They are also known as the letters of mad, huruf mad, madda, alif, waw, and ya. Okay, now there are other letters. There are 6 letters, in fact, which originate from the throat. They are known as the letters of the throat. So you've got Hamza and ha, which originate from the part of the throat nearest to the chest, so further down your throat. It's called aqsa halq. Hamza and ha, pronounced from the bottom part of your throat nearest to your chest. Then we have ayn and ha. Ayn and ha, which are also letters of the throat. These two letters are pronounced from the center of the throat, which is known as wasti halq, from the center of the throat. Ayn and ha. And the last two letters, ghain and kha. Ghain and kha. These letters are also known as the letters of the throat, huruf halqi, the letters of the throat. And these letters, ghain and kha, originate from the part of the throat nearest to the mouth, which is known as adnai halq. So you've got 6 letters of the throat: hamza, ha, ayn, ha, and ghain and kha. These 6 letters are known as the letters of the throat. Okay, now I want to talk to you about the letter qaf. Where does the letter qaf originate from? The letter qaf, this one here with 2 dots, originates from the back of the tongue when touching the palate. The back of the tongue when touching the palate, the letter qaf is pronounced. Then we've got the kaf. So what's the difference between the qaf and the kaf? The kaf is pronounced also from the back of the tongue, but not as far back as the qaf, a little to the front of the mouth when touching the palate. So qaf is pronounced with the back of the tongue touching the touching the palate, and kaf is also pronounced with the back of the tongue, but not as far back as qaf, touching the palate. Okay, so that you've got qaf and you've got kaf. Then we have the letters ya, sheen, and jim. Ya, sheen, and jim. These letters are pronounced from by the center of the tongue when touching the palate. So they come from the center of the tongue, the center of the mouth, touching the palate. Okay, now we will move on to the letter dad. The letter dad. Where does the letter dad come from? Now this is a little bit of a tricky one. The letter dad, the back edge of the tongue, you have to upturn it. So turn it over and then touch the roots of the molars and the premolars. Please refer to my lesson on the 32 teeth in your mouth and what they are called and their positions in your mouth. It's really important for you to understand the teeth in the mouth and the different parts of inside your mouth. To fully understand tajweed and how the letters are pronounced correctly, you must understand that. So please refer to that lesson. I have done a separate video on the teeth in your mouth and the different parts of your mouth where the letters originate from. So you've got the dad here. So the dad is pronounced by the back edge of the tongue upturned when touching the roots of the molars and the premolars. Now there's 3 ways of doing that. You can touch it from the right hand side, or you can touch the molars and premolars with your tongue from the left hand side, or you can do it from both sides. But it is commonly easier to pronounce the dad from the left hand side. But it's up to you how you feel comfortable. Every individual is different. Okay, let's move on to the letter lam. Where is lam? Lam. The letter lam. Okay, so the letter lam is pronounced when the edge of the tongue when touching the gums of the teeth. So the tip of the tongue, the edge of, sorry, not the tip of the tongue, the edge of the tongue, the sides, the edge of the tongue when touching the gums of the teeth, which extends from the premolar on one side to the premolar on the other side. So both sides of the tongue need to touch the molars and premolars. Lam. Pronounce the letter lam and you will notice where your tongue is touching in your mouth. Lam. So the tongue, the edge of the tongue on both sides touching the gums where the molars and premolars meet. It's very it's amazing when you think about the makharij and the sifat, and that's why I mentioned in my other lesson that it is a science in itself, and the ulama have spent years and years compiling this knowledge and putting it together, because it's not like any other language. You have to be very particular about the way you pronounce it. It may sound funny to some people when we start talking about the teeth and the gums and upturning the tongue, touching the molars and premolars, but this is the way the letters of the Arabic alphabet need to be pronounced when reciting the Quran. If you wish to recite the Quran in the manner that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited the Quran, and in the manner the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in recited the Quran, then you should recite the Quran with tajweed and tartil. That will be the closest to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. I'd just like to say at this point that if this is getting a little bit too detailed and it's going over our heads, and it will be for most people because there's quite a lot of detail involved here, then what I would recommend you do is that you pause the video after each makharij, after each letter and the explanation of each letter. You pause it and you revise it and go through it thoroughly, practicing pronouncing the letter. That will hopefully help you to understand where the letters originate from. It's very important that you pause the videos and you go over the explanation and then move on. And it's not a one-day thing. This will take you days, weeks, even months to master, even years. The Qurra, people who have mastered the recitation of the Quran, they generally spend a good 4 or 5 years completing that course. So you can imagine how difficult it can become if you really want to master this science. Okay, so we are going to move on to the letter. Which letter did we get to? We will move on to the letter Ra. Where does the letter Ra originate from? Okay, so the letter Ra, the edge of the tongue, including the immediate top, when touching the gums of the central incisors and the lateral incisors. So Ra, the edge of the tongue, touches the immediate top when touching the gums of the central incisors and the lateral incisors. Ra. It's very important that you pronounce the letter Ra correctly without rolling it. Okay, let's move on to the letters Ta, Dal, and Ta. Ta, Dal, and Ta. These letters originate from the tip of the tongue when touching the roots of the central incisors, when touching the roots of the central upper incisors. So you've got the Ta. When you pronounce these letters and think about the definition that I've just given you, it makes more sense. So Ta, Dal, Ta. You can feel the tip of the tongue touching the roots of your upper central incisors. Okay, moving on to the letters Tha, Dhal, and Dha. Tha, Dhal, and Dha. Now these letters originate when the tip of the tongue touches the edge of the central incisors. When the tip of your tongue touches the edge of the central incisors. The tha, the dhal, and the dha. Okay, so moving on to the makharij of the letters za, sin, and sad. Za, sin, sad. These letters are pronounced with the tip of the tongue touching the edge of the lower central incisors, including the upper central incisors. Okay, so you've got za, sin, sad. I can feel the tip of my tongue touching the edge of the lower central incisors very clearly. Okay, so moving on to the next one, which is fa. Fa. The letter fa is pronounced when the inner center of the bottom lip touching the edge of the upper central incisors. So, to put it in an easier explanation, the tip of your incisors at the top touch the inner lip, the inner bottom lip. Fa, fa. So if you pronounce the letter fa, you can see that your top teeth, the incisors, touch the bottom lip, but not the outer lip, the inside of the lip, which is wet. Fa. Okay. Then we move on to the letters wow, mim, and ba. Wow, mim, and ba. These letters are pronounced when both the lips meet. They are letters of the lips. Wow, mim, and ba. Wow, mim, ba. Letters of the lips. They are pronounced with both the lips. I hope all that makes sense. Please keep on practicing, and if you have any questions, do post them in the comment section. I will be making another video on the Makharij of the letters using a diagram of the mouth and the teeth. And also what I will do is when practicing exercise number 2, we'll do a quiz type of a lesson so that you can test yourself to see if you know the makharij of the letter, where it originates from and how it should be pronounced correctly. Jazakumullah for watching. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to learn the Quran, understand it, and act upon it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.